What are the biggest frustrations when it comes to studying music and/or improvisation? The majority of your response on this poll is really in line what we've heard many times before. That lots of you struggle with what's inside your head to convert that onto your instrument. Is this roughly sometimes you?
Oh god, jazz.
From the outside, without a background or context to it, a pretty simple conclusion could be that your inner ear is way ahead of your technical abilities on your instrument. But is it? I mean, is your inner ear that good and your technique that bad? But let's say you can easily simulate in your head, also called audiate, what you want to improvise. That might be as possible as me who really can envision me doing something like this on the soccer pitch.
Hits it! Beautiful!
I can see that really clear in my head. I know even every step involved into this particular thing technically.
It really is lovely to watch.
And I would be even able to do this in my backyard in some kind of weird slow-mo version probably. But do you think I can pull this off in a real match in the Farmers League that our FC Sharp 11 team is in? Under pressure of the opposing team. And yes, that exists. And just imagine, Kevin De Bruyne managed to pull that off in even the most competitive league in the world, where the execution is at the highest speed and level. Okay, by now I know you know what I'm trying to say here. There is obviously a huge gap, a discrepancy between my vision and my technique here. But even before we just assume that your vision is clear and you can really hear it in your head, just like I really can envision those soccer moves in my head, let's check that with a couple of questions you should be able to answer before we move ahead. Do you actually know what you're hearing in your head? I mean, can you identify what you're hearing and be specific about that? To check that, you could use this business acronym which is often used called S.M.A.R. That's an acronym for the first S stands for specific. Be specific. Not just like I want to do a cross rhythm, but I want to do a 2/3 cross rhythm. And of course, maybe you cannot really say it's a 2/3, but you really need to hear it before you can move on, not just some kind of rhythmic thing. Next up is the M for measurable. Is there a clear concept to describe here? Usually there is, and if you can't, you might lack a bit of experience and maybe even theory to describe it. That's okay. But if you can, try to be as specific also here. Next up, the A for attainable. That's the Kevin De Bruyne part. Is it technically within your reach? And be honest. The R for realistic. Well, that's like the latter one, but is it even close within your reach, or is the gap that huge that, let's say, you shouldn't go for it right now? And then we would have the T for time bound, but that's really the business part, we won't go there. However, the other ones of this acronym are really helpful to be more concrete about your vision. Okay, next up, this was one big kind of question. Now there's the second one. Do you know which tools you can use to get that sound or improvisational vision that you really want? Besides a ton of free online material and really great material, here is where a one-on-one teacher still has its very valuable place. That being said, Timothy and I just joined a platform to do that, and the cool thing about that, the platform is called Zip, is that we can do it asynchronously. So that means you can send in a video of your playing and or a question about your playing, and then I would respond within 48 hours with a video of myself giving you applied material which we have, transcriptions, exercises, tips, examples, and so on. Feel free to check that out if that would be something for you. But up to the next question. Do you actually know what you like. And this is a bit similar to the first question, but again, try to be as precise as possible. Like, for example, just telling me you like Chris Potter doesn't nearly suffice. Even I like Chris Potter playing outside on dominant 7 chords is not accurate enough. What does he do conceptually? Are you able to explain that? Is it like triad pairs on the flat 6 and the flat 5 of the chord? And that gives like this awesome sound. And if you even think you kind of have a good idea in this sense of what you like, transcription really, guys, is one of the best way to refine that and become more and more clear about your vision. I've done nearly 200 transcriptions now, and I'm still learning about myself, what that actually is, concretize my own taste in music, really. But more on that in a separate video. I have lots to say about that topic. And then the very last question for now: what does improvisation mean to you? It is about creating in the moment, of course, from scratch. But if you would ask 10 different jazz musicians, you would get probably 10 different views on how much can be improvised out of thin air up into pre-conceptual ideas or just licks yet that you kind of import that are already pre-learned. And especially the ratio between all of these. Ask many different people, you'll get a different ratio for sure. This is of course also subgenre specific, where it's maybe in fusion jazz and probably also bebop a little bit more accepted to use some licks that are really some bits that you have onto your fingers. In cool jazz, they want you probably less to do licks, and it has to flow out way more from something that you never have played before, like a Lee Konitz, a Warren March, or a Desmond would be great examples of pretty lickless players. Okay, this was a lot to think about, so let's do a recap of all the questions that I just posed. And you can really leave your thoughts on one or all of them in the comment section below. I would really love to hear your thoughts or your answers on these. The first one: do you know what you're hearing in your head? Can you identify what you're hearing? Be specific, and you can use this SMART acronym. Do you know which tools you can use in order to get the sound you want? Do you know what you actually want or like? And again, be as precise as possible here. And then, and this might be actually the first question: what is improvisation actually to you? And don't let anybody dictate that for you. I mean, there are so many people who have strong visions on that, and that's cool for their own playing, but this is a personal thing, I think. I hope this was helpful for now. If it was, it would help tremendously if you could leave a like on the video, because that, you know, helps the channel and you're very thanked for that. And if you like more of these kinds of video about soloing and improvisation and transcriptions, you could of course subscribe. I'm Jorge, blah blah blah. That's what's on my teleprompter here, and see you next time.